Welcome, everybody. We can take just a few seconds to get settled before we let Joe take the floor, but just want to thank you for joining us really quickly. I also want to let you know that this webinar is being recorded. So if any of you, I'm sure many of you are going to be interested in hearing more about this webinar later. So it's being recorded, and we will provide all of you with a copy of the webinar, hopefully on Monday. So now that I think most of you are here and settled, again, welcome. We are so thankful to have you all today and to taking the time to join us. And we are also more than thrilled to have with us today Joe Pulizzi, the founder of the Content Marketing Institute, and our host today of the webinar, The 5 Essentials of Epic Content Marketing for Business. So I don't want to keep you guys waiting any longer. And so I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Joe, who is going to be presenting to us today. So thanks again. And Joe, I'll give it to you.
It's wonderful to be on today. Thank you for everyone attending. I know your time is valuable, so I certainly appreciate it. And without further ado, we're going to get started. I like to start off presentations by you thinking about what makes a successful presentation. Is it maybe a sense of humor? Is it relevant information? What exactly is it to you that makes a powerful presentation, successful presentation? I've learned that it's none of those things. It's actually setting extremely low expectations. So I'm going to set extremely low expectations for you in this webinar today. And my goal is for you to get one thing. I want you to get one thing out of today that you can take and use in your business immediately after getting off of this webinar today. So that's my hope for you. Hopefully look for that one thing, and then hopefully maybe I'll give you 2 things. If I give you 2 things, maybe I've exceeded your expectations in some way. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Joe Pulizzi, founder of the Content Marketing Institute. Our goal is to teach marketers how to effectively own their own media channels by creating valuable, relevant, and compelling content to attract and retain customers. We do that through our events like Content Marketing World, our magazine Chief Content Officer, and we consult and advise some of the largest companies on the planet. Here's what I normally look like. I'll open it up for Q&A at the end of the presentation. This is me at Content Marketing World in my full orange custom suit that I like to haul out on special occasions. But I've got orange on today. You'll see me for the Q&A. So at about 15 minutes left in our hour today, I'll take as many questions as I can from the audience. And it's, one of my lifetime dreams was to stand on the stage with Mr. Kevin Spacey. I don't know how many of you watch House of Cards, but I'm a big House of Cards fan. And he was our closing keynote last year in Cleveland for Content Marketing World. And this year's event, we have Mr. John Cleese as our closing keynote, September 8th through 11th, 2015 for Content Marketing World. So without further ado, I'm going to get to these 5 essentials for epic content marketing. But first, I want to start off with a quick history lesson on how we got here in the evolution of content marketing. And if you're a George Carlin fan, I'm a big George Carlin fan, and I'm going to use George Carlin and his idea. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but he's got a great video, which is probably not safe for work, which is all about stuff. So if you get a chance and you haven't seen his video clip on stuff, it's where you'll go Google it, go and type in stuff, George Carlin, and watch this 5 minutes. And it's basically the whole idea of, he says the reason humans exist is to collect stuff. And the stuff that we get and we collect is the good stuff, and the stuff that everybody else collects is the bad stuff. And I watched this video and I started to think, this is really interesting. This is a lot. It has a lot to do with what we've been doing in content marketing. So think about the stuff that you collect as a human, right? And you put it into houses that would look like these storage units, right? And some of us are so lucky we have so much stuff we actually get a second storage unit or a second house. But this is a lot of what we've done with our collection of content and how we've organized that. So we would start collecting all this content, and it was amazing because we had all this sales and marketing information, all this content stuff that we just had in all the print form and events that we did. And then the website came along, which was amazing because we had an infinite place to put and store our content. It was great. All the sales and marketing stuff and all the feature and benefit stuff and talking about us, we finally had a place to put that, and we would store it, just like Mr. Carlin said, when we store it into our houses as humans, we're taking it as marketers and we're going to store it on the web. And we feel that this was a good thing because it would mean that more people could find our stuff and they could see us, and hopefully they would become customers. So as we evolve through the evolution of the website, then the greatest thing ever happened to marketers was social media, right? Because why? Because we had more places to put our content stuff. So we started to create out and churn out more content for blogs and forums and sites like Instagram, videos like on YouTube, and now podcasts have just taken off. And it's been amazing, right? Because we've got all these places to put our feature, benefit, and content information. And so we thought that this was the model. So if we look at George Carlin's model of content marketing 1.0, this was the general model. And by the way, this is still the general model for a lot of people out there. It's the idea of, we've got this stuff that talks about us, this corporate content stuff. And we feel if we put enough out there in enough of the right channels, we're going to attract and retain customers and create customer stuff. Well, unfortunately, it hasn't worked so well for a lot of us out there because we realize that nobody cares about our stuff, right? All the content that you're creating and you're talking about stuff that you think is really important or you think it's stuff about your company, your features and benefits, nobody cares. Nobody's paying attention. So you go to Content Marketing 2.0 model here, and the thought is, if we create content stuff, interesting information, valuable information to our customers, we're going to attract more of those types of customers. We're going to sell more products and services at the end of the day. So, by the way, and this has worked pretty well. So then let me just level set with content marketing so we're all on the same page. So we're talking about owned media channels. So instead of communicating through somebody else's channel, renting somebody else's channel like we would through advertising with somebody else's audience, and we're going to rent a portion of their space and they're going to give us that space in order to attract attention, we're creating our own content, our own valuable, hopefully amazing information in the hopes of building an audience, and then we can monetize that audience by selling more products and services, saving money, whatever the goal would be. And content is not about our products and services. It's closely related to what we sell, but really what we're doing, we're educating and entertaining people so that they know us more, they like us more, they trust us more, and they ultimately, hopefully, will buy more from us. And if you were looking at content marketing as a stock, it's a great stock because business is good. Right now, according to our research, and there's the short link on the research, 90% of companies are using some form of content marketing. So 9 out of 10 marketers out there doing some form of content marketing, and that makes me happy. I mean, I'm the content marketing guy. I'm pretty excited about that. This is good. Here's the problem. 38%. This is the effectiveness number for content marketing. So when we surveyed the 5,000 marketers from all over the world about what they're doing with content marketing, even though the majority of them are using content marketing in some way, less than 4 out of 10 are successful. Yeah, so if you're David Ortiz and you're on the Boston Red Sox and you're batting 380, fantastic. If you're batting 380 as a marketer, you're probably getting fired. This is not good, right? This makes me sad. And thanks to the wonderful graphic designers we have that put together me crying. So this is a problem. This is not good. I mean, I'm trying to evangelize the practice of content marketing, but we're not seeing success. So I want you to think about this for your own organization, and we'll talk about some of this in the Q&A. But do you yourself have a documented content marketing strategy? Have you written down your content marketing strategy in some way? And why is this important? Now, just so you know, most companies don't. Way less than 30% of companies out there have some formalized content marketing strategy for their organization. This is a problem. Now, why is this a problem? Let me go to some of the research and tell you why this is so important. There's 2 things that differentiate effective content marketers from those that are not effective. They're telling us themselves that they are either effective or not effective with their content marketing. The first is effective content marketers, 95% have a strategy of some kind, and the majority of those actually have a documented, written down strategy. Those that are not effective, hardly any of them, 11% actually have some kind of a documented strategy. So that's the first differentiator. The second one is that effective content marketers actually follow the strategy. They don't just create a strategy and put it in a drawer. They actually follow it. They meet with it on an ongoing basis. They review the strategy. They review the KPIs, and they continually refer to that documented content marketing strategy. This is a big difference. So you are saying, Joe, how can I be an effective content marketer? These are the basics. This is where you have to start. First, we have to, and we'll get to a lot of the ways that you can do this here in the rest of this presentation. The first is you have to document your content marketing strategy. The second is you have to follow it consistently with your team and get them involved. Very, very important. What's the difference between those? Well, those that do that actually document their content marketing strategy and follow with their team, they tell us they're 8 times more successful than ineffective content marketers. They look, and this is really important, they look at more metrics, more different key performance indicators, 6 versus 4, and a much less emphasis on web traffic. Now, why is this important? Because web traffic in and of itself is a meaningless metric. Web traffic could mean that you're getting more subscribers, that you're getting more qualified leads, that more people that come to your site are more willing to do other types of behaviors. But for the most part, unless it leads to some other objective, it doesn't mean anything for me. You can get more web traffic and not be hitting your goals, right? So I want you to keep in mind as we go through the rest of this presentation. This is the last one I'll share, and then we'll get to the 5 essentials. Budget. Those that say that they're effective at their content marketing, they spend 37% overall on their creation and distribution of content marketing. Ineffective, 16%. But here's the funny thing. Look at this. Doesn't matter. Effective or lesser effective content marketers, all of them are planning on spending more over the next 12 months. So what should this mean for you? This should mean that get ready for a whole lot of horrible content over the next 12 months, because you have a lot of marketers that have no content marketing strategy, and they're not going to be reviewing it with their team, and they're creating a whole ton of content, and it's going to make it harder on us to cut through the clutter. So I'm just throwing that out there to be prepared. So to bring it all home, yes, you have corporate stuff. Back to Mr. Carlin, right? You have stuff that you need to sell. You have that feature and benefit stuff. You have plenty of that kind of content. We're going to connect that with content that's interesting, that's engaging, that's sort of around the stuff that we sell, but not about what we sell, because we're trying to build an audience and we're trying to attract and retain customers at the end of the day. So this is sort of here's a very basic way to look at content marketing. It can help us be more effective. Now, what I'm going to do is over the next 20 minutes, I'm going to share 5 elements that I think are really important. But the first element that I have to talk about is why. Why are you doing this in the first place? And I want to talk about your objectives as content marketers, and I like to talk about it in sales, savings, sunshine. So am I going to save money in some way as an organization, savings, or sunshine? Can I create more loyal customers in some way? We like to call that sunshine. Those are the only 3 reasons. So I want you to think about why you're doing this to this little bit, because a lot of the people that we work with, a lot of big companies, they're doing a lot of content activity, but don't link that directly to sales, savings, or sunshine. And I want you to start doing that. So let me give you a couple of examples. I don't know if you're familiar with Copyblogger. If you go to Copyblogger's site, you'll look at it and you'll it looks like actually a content marketing education site. You go to a blog post will look like this. They basically share information on how to write better headlines, what some of the best journalists and writers do to be more effective, how do you get found online, those types of things. What you would not know is that they don't sell anything really around content marketing services from that standpoint. They sell products. They basically sell software as a service products around SEO and content creation and distribution. So they're a product company, but they almost look and feel like a media company. What's amazing is that 99% of Copyblogger's revenues come in first through subscribers. So they have over 200,000 people that subscribe to their content on a daily basis, and they've created that audience, but they don't try to pitch them at all first. They try to get them in as an audience, and then they try to keep them around as an audience, and once they become audience members, then they sell them on the products and services they have. So this is a really good example of sales. So let's look at cost savings. One of my favorite examples of cost savings is Jyske Bank. Jyske Bank, one of the largest banks in Denmark. Basically, they were spending a lot of money on sponsoring football matches, or in America, we call them soccer matches. But they were spending millions of dollars on these sponsorships, and they're like, well, we don't want to spend money on these sponsorships. Is there something else that we can do to build our own audience? And they created Jyske Bank Television. This is actually what it looks like inside. This is inside the bank, folks. This is what their bank looks like. Jyske Bank TV. They actually have a tagline that says, "We are the only media company with its own bank." I kid you not. That's actually their tagline that they have. So it's pretty incredible that they focus on creating quality content ongoing 24/7. It's a digital television station that they run it in. You go inside their stores and you'll see this running, and they focus on young consumers and how they can be better financial students. They can understand stocks and bonds and savings and checking, and they give them all the tools and information so they can be better financial people and more astute savers and better with their money. So and they did that for a couple of years. And what's amazing is those same organizations that they were looking to sponsor and spending millions of dollars sponsoring those football matches then were coming to them and saying, Usick Bank, would you come in and would you be a media partner for our event? Because they built such a valuable audience, those organizations wanted to reach their audience. So instead of having to pay for sponsorship for those football matches, now they got in for free. And they got more visibility from being a media partner because they had a valuable audience. So this is a great example of cost savings, that they don't have to spend money on advertising and sponsorship anymore because they get invited to these things because they have such a valuable audience they've created through their digital channels. So this is the last one. This is Sunshine. So how do we keep our customers more loyal, retain them, upsell, cross-sell? And one of my favorite examples of all time is the furrow from John Deere, created. And you might think that content marketing is new. It's not new. It's well over 100 years old. John Deere's The Furrow magazine was created in 1895, so over 100 years ago, talking to small businesses and farmers on how farmers could be more successful as small businesses and farmers. And they created the print magazine, and now they have a monthly digital and print publication. By the way, and here's what I love about it. If you said, Joe, who's the largest media company in the farming industry? I would tell you that it's not a media company, it's John Deere. And that's something. John Deere has 1.5 million subscribers in 40 countries in 14 different languages. 1.5 million subscribers. Isn't that something? So, and by the way, I know farmers that love getting this magazine. So how would you like sales that your customers love so much it's not sales? This is what we're talking about with content marketing. So those are the three examples: sales, savings, or sunshine. So I want you to think about what this is for you. And just to give you a quick, just talk about it in an example. I was given a speech a few months ago, and this was the chief marketing officer for a large manufacturing company, comes over and raises his hand and says, Joe, I like this content marketing stuff. I love what you're talking about. It's really good information. And I want you to, how can content marketing help us get more Facebook fans? And I said, well, tell me the story about what you're trying to do. And he said, Joe, well, we have like 4,000 Facebook fans. We grew to that number pretty quickly, but we've sort of plateaued, and we haven't been able to do much with that since. And what can we do more? And I said, all right, just answer me this question. He said, what? I said, well, why are you on Facebook? And all I heard was silence, exactly what you're hearing now. There was no response. Didn't know what the business objective was behind Facebook. And I'm not going to pick out that company at all, but a lot of the companies that we talk to are launching content programs on all kinds of channels, but they don't know why they're doing it. Like, what is the business objective behind your Instagram, your Pinterest, your blog? Like, what are you trying to do? Because if you don't know what you're trying to do, you shouldn't do it in the first place. And you'd be surprised how many companies are creating content all over the place, but don't know why they're doing it. So here's your homework assignment. Here's one of your homework assignments I'm going to give you. I want you to take a piece of paper with you and your team, and I want you to put why question mark at the top of that page. And then on the left-hand side, I want you to tell me all the ways and channels that you're getting content. You've got a blog, you've got Instagram, you've got Pinterest, you've got a podcast that you're doing, you've got a Facebook page, you've got a forum you create content in, your LinkedIn page, whatever you're doing. The average company does between 13 and 15 different activities. I want you to list those down the left-hand side of the page, and I want you to put why, the business objective behind each one of those. I've done this exercise more than 50 times with companies of all sizes, and not one company has been able to fill it out completely. You might have to go to other departments and find out why they're doing it. So I want you to think about this from your perspective, because what it'll help you to do is maybe you can cut some things out. I think that a lot of us are creating way too much content on way too many channels, and I think that if you can be focused on being great at fewer channels, that you understand why you're doing it and what the business objective is behind it, you can be more impactful and it'll make more sense. All right, so that's number one. Sales, savings, or sunshine. Why are we doing this in the first place? Now we're going to get more tactical here. And this is one of my favorite things, and it's called the content marketing mission statement. I want you to think about this. What do all media companies do that you do not do with your content? What do all media companies do that you do not do with your content? So think about this for a second. And absolutely, the answer is you create an editorial mission statement. The majority of, I would say, 99.9% of media companies, the first thing that they do is you create an editorial mission statement. It's just what you do. It's what great publishers have always done. We create a mission statement to understand why we're doing it, who the audience is, and what our overall goal is for that audience. I've been into seemingly 1,000 different companies out there, and none of them start with an editorial mission statement. So we all say that we want to be publishers, and we can be publishers, and we should be publishers. The problem is none of us are doing the basic things that make publishers amazing and great at what they do. So let me give you a couple of examples here. Here's a consumer example. This is Homemade Simple. Homemade Simple is from Procter & Gamble. It's been around since 2003. And every day they create content about how to be better organized in the home. So organizational tips for the home, recipes, and they have a content marketing mission statement, and here it is. So their goal is to enable women to have more quality time with their families. They're not talking about selling more Swiffer pads at this point or selling more detergent. They're talking about targeting women and how those women can have more quality time with their families. So it tells you a little bit about what you're going to see in content. You're not going to see any 6-hour recipes here because it doesn't go to the overall mission statement of what Homemade Simple is all about. By the way, well over 5 million subscribers get Homemade Simple content every day. How would you like that? 5 million people raise their hand and say, yes, Procter & Gamble, please send me your sales information. Again, sales information that's so good, it doesn't seem like sales. Let's take a small B2B example. This is Indium Corporation. Indium manufactures industrial soldering equipment. They have 21 engineers blog on a regular basis talking about soldering equipment. Not sexy at all, but they do it on a consistent basis, and they've really focused on becoming the leading expert in the world on soldering equipment, and here's their mission statement. Helping engineers answer the most challenging industrial soldering questions. This is all they do. They're not talking to plant managers, they're not talking to CFOs, they're talking to engineers. And what do they want those engineers to do? They want to help them answer the most challenging industrial soldering questions. They're not talking about ball bearings, they're not talking about siding, it's only on soldering questions. So when you look at yours, you want to make sure you focus on who the specific audience is. You have all kinds of buyer personas, but you have to focus on one buyer persona for your content marketing strategy to work. So that's the one thing. And second is, what are we focused on that we can be the leading experts in the world at? You're just creating content that's just like everyone else's? Probably. You're probably creating content that nobody could tell the difference from what you're creating from what your competitors are creating. We have to tell a different story. So Indium has done this where they just focus on this one thing. So that's what I want you to create. So here's another homework. Oh, actually, let's do this. Let me give you an example of what a media company does. Here's Inc. Magazine. Inc. Magazine is a magazine and online content brand focusing on small businesses, entrepreneurs, and they have their own editorial mission statement. And this is the 3 parts of your content marketing mission statement. So let's look at Inc.'s. And they, by the way, if you go to Inc.'s About Us page, you'll see this on their About Us page. It says, "Welcome to Inc., a place where entrepreneurs and business owners can find useful information, advice, insights, resources, and inspiration for running and growing their businesses." Let's break this down into 3 parts. 1, what's their core target audience? They believe the informational needs and pain points of entrepreneurs and business owners are close enough that they can target those 2 audiences. I would agree. But you have to focus this. If you get to like 2 different audiences that are too different, your content is not going to be relevant enough. It's not going to make an impact. People are going to ignore it. It's not going to work. You have to focus on a core target audience. Number 2, what's going to be delivered? Look at this. They say useful. That's all I need to see. Useful information, right? They're not talking about what they're going to sell, their advertising, their paid content. They're talking about stuff that's useful to entrepreneurs and business owners at all times. Number three, the most important one is, what is the outcome for the audience? Basically, there's two things that they're trying to do. When you read a piece of content in Inc., you're trying to help that audience be more profitable or grow revenue. That's it. That's it. So look at your content. Are you trying to do the soft sell? Are you trying to insert your sales information there, do a bait and switch? Are you really focusing on the needs of your audience? That's what you need to figure out. If you read a piece of Inc. content, they're not trying to sell you anything. They're trying to grow the relationship with you by giving you amazing information. That's what you need to do with yours. So let's go homework assignment. You need to create your own mission statement. So go back, whatever you're doing right now, I want you to go back and lay a mission statement on top of this. Like Indium, they have their mission statement plastered all over their organization. They pass it to their employees so the employees know this is the goal. This is what we're trying to do. It gets like a mini creative brief that you can give to everybody. So define your audience. What are you going to deliver? What's the audience outcome? This is not the place where you're going to say we're going to sell more widgets. This is focused just on the audience, just like a media company would do. All right, everybody with me? Okay, got 3 more to go. Element 3, I love this one. Don't build your content ship on rented land or rented water per se, whichever analogy you like to use. Let's look at, we're so busy trying to create our audiences on social media. I totally get creating a digital footprint. I understand it, but let's look at what's happened with Facebook recently. I mean, if you go to Starbucks page, right? They've got 36 million followers, likes on Facebook. How many of those people that have liked them Starbucks on Facebook are actually going to see an organic post from Facebook? Less than, what, 2%? Maybe, definitely less than 5. Hardly anybody is going to see it. So they built up a massive audience, put millions of dollars into creating an audience on Facebook, and nobody's going to see their content. And by the way, they don't own it. Facebook changed their algorithm. They can do whatever they want with it. That's the issue, right? The same thing goes, how many restructurings has Google Plus gone through in the last 9 months? At least 2, maybe 3. Google Plus is going to do whatever they want. So here's my question. Why are we... I've got no problem using social media to build our own audience. But the problem is that if you look at Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Google Plus, any other site, they own those connections, not you. You can leverage them for the time that you have right now, but don't be surprised if you get up in the morning and you're spending a lot of money and you don't have access to that audience anymore. Just don't be surprised. It's going to happen. It's already happening. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to focus on whatever has been, because at least we have some semblance of control right now over email where we don't have it on social media. Now think about this. Think about email. Look at subscribers. Over 200,000 subscribers for Copyblogger, like we talked about. They've gone from 0 to over a $10 million business in a very short period of time simply by focusing on subscribers. Look at Craft Food and Family. They've got over 1.5 million subscribers of this magazine, online and offline magazine. This, by the way, this is paid. The people pay for this content in Craft Food and Family. So they're focusing on building an audience. Subscribers. One of my favorite examples, Think Money magazine from TD Ameritrade. Took them over 2 years to get this data. But by the way, Think Money magazine goes to high volume traders. So they trade stocks, bonds, derivatives in high volume. And what they found out is that those customers that receive and subscribe to Think Money magazine trade 5 times more than those that don't. You know what kind of project that is? That's a project that will never get killed. That's amazing impact that the content can make. But it took them a while to get there. That's why you have to be patient, but I want you to focus on subscribers and what you can do with your subscribers. Here's the question. So you're going to say, Joe, how do I figure out ROI for my content marketing? This is it. I mean, you could do it a lot of different ways, but this is what you're looking at. What's the difference between those who subscribe to my content and those that don't? What's the difference? And you don't really need a lot of flashy technology to do this. You could just take your email subscription list, overlay that with your customer list, and that's the difference, folks. What are they doing different? Do they buy more? Do they stay longer? Do they market more about you, talk more about your product? What do they do? I want you to think about those things when you look at return on investment. Got 2 more to go, folks. All right. So you've done the why, right? Why you're doing this content marketing. You've created your content mission statement. You focused on who your audience is and what you want that audience to do. You focus on, hey, we want to build a subscription program around this. So we want to build an audience, really important. So this all takes time and patience. The average small company, it takes between 15 and 17 months to really do this and make an impact. So it does take patience to do it, but it can be done. But then we've got to market the content, folks. So if you don't have an audience to start with, you've got to go find an audience. Now, you can pay for that audience. You can pay to market, and you should. I think you should look at using a lot of those paid options and native advertising and other things to build your own audience. But you can also do something called leveraging influencers. Now, I'm going to share with you an example that we did at Content Marketing Institute that really worked well. We've shared it with a lot of our clients. Please steal this idea if you're not doing it. It's worked really well for us, but we're going to show you how you can harvest your audience and actually get subscribers through an influencer model. So the first thing is we've got to create what we call an influencer hit list. So what's an influencer hit list? An influencer hit list is a listing of where your customers are hanging out on the web when they're not on your site. So where are they exactly? Are they on which, how do you find those people? Do you find them on Clout or Google Alerts or Twitter hashtags? And yes, the answer is all the above. So what we want to do is we want to put a list together, and we started with a list of 42. This is our initial 10 of that list. You can start with 5 to 10. Are they blogging sites, media sites, association sites? What are they? They could be competitors as well. So we want to create that list. So once we have the list, we're going to do something that we call the 4-1-1 formula that I learned from my good friend Andrew Davis, who authors a book called Brandscaping, which is a fantastic book if you get a chance to look at it. So I'm going to use Twitter as the example for this one, and I want you to think about 4-1-1. So for every 6 tweets, here's how we look at our content distribution, because our goal with social media 4-1-1 is to build relationships with influencers. That's what we're trying to do. So 4-1-1. So 1 on the right, that's our sales. That's our sales tweet. So it's going to be a tweet that we got customer service award of the year. Something amazing. Something amazing happened in the company. It's about us. Nobody's going to retweet it. Nobody really cares. But you get product marketing off your back. Great, you're done. Then the 1 in the middle, that's your own content marketing. That's your own piece of that's your own blog post, your podcast, your valuable, relevant content. That's your 1 tweet. But the 4 on the left, 67% of what you're tweeting out, those are targeted at influencer pieces of content that's relevant for your audience. There's an example. So in this one, we're targeting Arnie K, John Wilbin, and KCG, 3 of our influencers, because we're going to get their attention. And you need to do this for months at a time, because if you just do it haphazardly and there's no strategy behind it, you're not going to get anybody's attention. Influencers aren't going to pay attention. All we want to do right now is to get on their radar so that influencers know that you're sharing their content. Then we're not done yet, because we've done that for a couple months. Now we're going to bake the influencer content into our content. So here's an example. So we did all what we're just doing. We did the influencer hit list. We did the 4-1-1, and then now we're going to bake it into books. So we took this content marketing playbook and had 42 different examples, and of those 42 examples, we baked in examples from 26 influencers. And we let those influencers know that their content was in our playbook. And guess how many of those 26 shared it out with their audience? 24. 24 of the 26 shared it out. We only had a few thousand subscribers at the time, but we're able to get tens of thousands of downloads of the content marketing playbook in a very short period of time, because we'd already built a relationship with those influencers. We were helping out those influencers, and then they wanted to give back, and they shared with their audience. But we're not done yet, because activity is not good enough. What we want are subscribers. So as people come back and they're looking at the ebook on our site, we want to make sure that we can convert those people into subscribers. So we make sure that we're not focusing on product or service pitches on our site. We want to focus on a content giveaway and getting those people to sign up for some kind of subscription offer. So there's our join over box, 70,000 of your peers. If you sign up for our email newsletter, you get a really good piece of exclusive content. So we focus on that one there. But here's what's really done it for us, actually. So I know that none of you like popovers or pop-ups and you get annoyed by them, but right now they work really well, folks. So 60 to 65% of our daily, we get about 140, 150 people a day subscribing to Content Marketing Institute content. About 60 to 65% come in through this popover form. We use Pippity, Pippity, I believe it is. It integrates with WordPress. It works really well. And we get those people to sign up through this method. It works super well because all the activity in the world, I mean, most of the people that go to your site are never going to come back. We want to make sure that we get them and get them subscribed so that we can continue a conversation with them and monetize them down the path. Just a little thing on SlideShare. If you're not using SlideShare, SlideShare is owned by LinkedIn. SlideShare is the YouTube for PowerPoint presentations. This is our third best subscription generator. You can use a little thing called SlideShare Pro. So when people go into your PowerPoint presentation or presentation of some kind, they have it's a little pop-up box that they can get to, and they can sign up to subscribe on SlideShare. 60 million unique visitors a month go to SlideShare. So we want to make sure that we convert those people and get them set up as an audience. And when we have those people set up as an audience, then we can monetize them. So here's the last one, and then we'll get to Q&A. And this is sort of a flyer, but I think this is going to be super important for anyone. And there's opportunities if you're a small company to get involved in this. And it's the whole idea versus buy versus build. So if you want to do this and you want to build a content marketing program, it can be done. It just takes time, patience, and a real focus on a niche that you can be the leading expert in the world. You can absolutely do this, but I also think you have to ask yourself, maybe somebody out there has already created a really good audience platform around that area and that niche, and maybe you should look at possibly buying that blogging site, media company. We're already seeing this happen. Let me give you a couple of examples of what this has happened. JPEG Magazine, 2008, 2009, they were going out of business. They were a photography enthusiast site, and they had almost 300,000 subscribers, and nobody wanted to buy JPEG Magazine, no other media company, because they couldn't get advertising to support. So what did they end up doing? They ended up putting themselves out, and a company called Adorama, which sells photography equipment, went and purchased with a group of investors JPEG. They picked the site, the content factory, and the subscribers. So think about those 300,000 subscribers, those consumer enthusiasts, photography enthusiasts on JPEG Magazine subscribers. Those are Adorama customers and prospects. It's a perfect fit, and it's turned into a great relationship. It's happened really with a company called HubSpot. If you're familiar with the marketing automation company HubSpot, they wanted to create their own agency blog, and they basically purchased Agency Post, a blog for agencies, and they purchased it and they integrated it right into their site. So I want you to think about the opportunity where maybe you should look at buying versus building, and that's another really good use of your influencer list. So if you go to your influencer list, some of those bloggers on their media sites may be a good opportunity for you to purchase a lot of those companies down the road. And we've seen deals done from $5,000, $10,000 to up to $1 million. But a lot of these really amazing blogs out there, they actually don't cost a lot of money if you were looking to purchase them. So there's an opportunity there. All right, folks, here's your takeaways, and then we're going to wrap up and go to Q&A. First, set your goals on sales, savings, or sunshine. Number two, why are you using each channel? What is the why? Do that exercise. Focus on reader's outcome. What is the audience outcome? And you can do that by content marketing mission statement. Look for your subscription strategy as your key metric. Don't build your content ship on rented land. Then we want to make sure we harvest an audience, right? So build that influencer list, then bake those influencers into your content, create an engine to get and keep subscribers, and then kind of your flyer is, consider possibly buying another site out there if you don't want to put the energy in actually building your platform. So that, I hope you got your one thing. Hopefully you got more than that, so that we exceeded expectations here. Thank you for your time. If you have any, I'm going to answer. We're going to get to questions right now as we go. The new book, the recent book is Epic Content Marketing. The new book coming out is Content Inc. It'll be out in September. And Abby, I think we've got some time for questions, so let's go and take as many questions as we can here. I've got a whole bunch coming in here. See if I can make some sense to these. And let's see if we've got some questions here. Okay, we've got a lot of questions about the pop-up. Pippity, you read it. Pippity, P-I-P-P-I-T-Y. So Juan is asking, how often should you send? Oh, actually, what we are going to do? Oh, I was going to turn it on video mode. Let me do that so that you can all see that I act here. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. So hello, I've got my trademark orange shirt on. So let me see if I can answer your question. So let me go back to your question, Juan. How often should you send out emails to your list? Look, we send out daily emails. I've seen weekly work, every other week work. Though it's not how often you send; it's setting the right expectations with your email and the kind of content that you're sending. So we want to make sure that you have to have people subscribe to something. So what are they subscribing to? You can't just get their email and then blast out information at them. Are they subscribing to a weekly e-newsletter, a daily e-newsletter, a monthly e-newsletter? So figure out what that is. And then around the e-newsletter content that you're sending, you can have your sales and marketing information, the things that you want to sell. But the content itself, you need to think like a media company. So focus on that, something consistent. Most companies out there don't have a consistent content piece that they're sending out. So you have to figure out what your subscription program is. Let's see. What are your thoughts on having a Facebook group instead of a page? You know, I'm just not a big Facebook fan. I think that it can work. I think I've seen more effectiveness in other niche communities inside of who you're targeting. There's all kinds of amazing communities out there. I mean, if you're in photography, look at all the different photography communities that are out there. Some of those are on Facebook, some are on Google+, some are on all kinds of other platforms. So I would look at the types of communities. I wouldn't just look to start something. There's so many different communities out there. I would look to get active in a community that's already going, and then try to insert into that conversation before creating something new. It's so much harder to do that. One thing we've been looking at is sometimes there's communities out there that have been dying, that they have actually a lot of community members, but they've been dying out there, and there's a lot of opportunity to take those over. I think that's a great opportunity, so I would look at those instead of creating your own Facebook. How effective? Okay, so Rosanna is asking, how effective is guest blogging on other sites in getting traffic audience? I think it can be very effective, Rosanna. I think that consistency is key. I don't think it's as much effective as you're just doing all over the place and doing one shots everywhere else. But if you do guest blogging, let's say on Forbes or Huffington Post or a particular site, I would get to key ones that you can be a regular contributor to, that you can hold on to your reputation and grow your reputation from that standpoint. So absolutely love it. Again, you want to make sure you have your own site as well to drive people to, so it can be great at the end of that article that they can go and find your information there. So let me go to good question. Let's see. So the question is, how and where do we get influencers? How do you mean by baking influencers in? Okay, let me just make sure we get this on the same page. So basically, you can use some tools like a Google Alerts over keywords that you follow. Google Alerts, is a free service. All you need is a Gmail account where you can type in, let's say, content marketing. And then every day I can get an email from Google that'll say, look, here's all the sites that are talking about content marketing. So you can start to get a feel for who's talking about the things that you have targeted as a keyword. You can also do this use Twitter hashtags. You can use Clout. You can use littlebird.com. That's littlebird.com. You can use Tracker is another one. So you can first get your list, and then when I talk about building it in to your content, baking it in, what you want to do is, let's say you create an ebook or you're doing blog posts, you then can link out and refer to those people on an ongoing basis. So let's say you're doing an ebook, an educational ebook, you can insert the links and resources and commentary and thoughts from those influencers into your content and bake it in so you have a quality piece of content, and then let those people know. The first part is you got to make sure you do the 411, social media 411, and create the relationship first, and then bake it in. So hopefully that answered some of your questions. Sharon's asking, why are subscribers so important? Sharon, I could spend an hour on this one. The whole idea is to create a content marketing program that builds an asset for your organization. You build an asset through your organization by building an audience. Subscribers are that audience. You want people to opt in and subscribe so that they can, on an ongoing basis, get your content. Just think of it like a media company. The central way that media companies monetize is not through the content itself, it's through the audience. It's through their circulation database, their audience development database. And that's where most companies go wrong, because they just look at all kinds of activity, but they're not creating their own audience. Once you create your own audience, you tip the scales. Your audience does different things than a non-audience does, and that's what you have to find out with your subscribers. So once you get people to subscribe to something, what I want you to do is then find out what are they doing different. And sometimes it takes 6, 9, 12 months to figure out what the difference is. I'll give you an example. So for Content Marketing Institute, we know that if somebody subscribes to our blog, our daily blog, they sign up to a webinar, if they do those two different things, they're so much more likely to go to one of our and pay for our live event. We know that tips the scale. So what we want to do is wrap our audience in content love, like an octopus would. Think about it this way, Sam, and set it up so that you have all kinds of different pieces of amazing content that you're sharing at the same time with them, and making sure that you become that trusted expert. And if you don't have that audience, I mean, then none of that marketing automation stuff that you're using is going to work, and you're not going to know the difference at the end of the day. You're just going to have a lot of likes and followers and web traffic, and at the end of the day, we want to know who our audience is. Okay, still got a lot of questions coming through. Michael's asking, would you recommend building an audience in a broad niche like Inc.com has, or build a narrow niche to capture a small audience and expand from there? Michael, this is a fantastic question. Go as small as you can. So here's what you do, Mike. Go to the smallest niche that you can possibly can, where you can honestly answer the question, could I be the leading informational resource in this topic? If you can't, if you say no, then you're not niche enough. You have to get, so I'll give you an example, because about a year ago, I talked to a company that sold pet supplies. So this company they sold pet supplies, and they were going to start a pet supplies blog. And I said, okay, that's great. Well, who are you competing against? And they said, Petco, PetSmart. I'm like, okay, well, those companies have billion-dollar budgets, and you are a small company. There's no way you can compete with them. They're going to throw you out of the way. There's nothing you can do. But we talked about some of the products and services that they had, and we said, okay, well, you could create the online resource for people and this person was in Miami, in the Miami area or South Florida area, and of those people that like to travel in RVs with their dogs. I mean, think about how niche that is. So then you can really focus on a niche audience. So I would focus on as niche as you can go and be the leader, because if you're not, there's no way you're going to cut through the clutter. So go niche, niche, niche. Keep going with questions here.
Yeah, Joe, I think we've got time for one more question. I'm so sorry. We have a couple minutes of lots of questions, but I think one more. And
okay, you got it.
So much for sitting with us.
You got it. Okay, let's do one more. So Sam, I'll just do the last one. Sam, you got in at the last moment here. I'm a blogger, just entering the growing phase. Huffington Post is a long way to go for me. How should I go about using inbound marketing for my traffic? Sam, I would go back to Michael's question. Focus on a niche that you can honestly, if you distribute amazingly valuable content on a regular basis, focus on being the leading informational expert in that niche, and then figure out a subscription program along with that. There's so many blogs that don't have a subscription program. So create an email subscription portion as part of that and as part of your blog. And then I think that, and then do that for 6 to 9 months. And then I think you'll see some of that. If you're looking for guest blogging opportunities, focus on guest blogging opportunities. It wouldn't be on Huffington Post. It'd be on something really, really niche, a niche media site, a trade publication, something like that. All right. So some technical difficulties, Abby, but hopefully we made through enough questions.
For sure. No matter what, everyone has your incredible presentation that we got through. So I'll let you say, your quick goodbye, and then I'll close out. So.
Excellent. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate the time that you spent. Hopefully you got your 1 or 2 things out of it. Again, if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to me at joe@contentinstitute.com. And would love to see a Content Marketing World in Cleveland in September. But thank you for all the support and dealing with us for this hour.
Of course, and thank you so much, Joe. And thank you guys. You guys were an incredible audience, incredibly forgiving, and letting us having just a little hiccup there. But as promised, you guys all will get a recording here in the next couple of days. So you can watch, again and again, this incredible presentation and take as much out of it as you can. And also some great questions were answered no matter what, and got lots of good knowledge from Joe. So thank you guys again. If you have any questions about GetResponse, please reach out to our 24/7 support. And Joe has also given tons of great resources and a way for you to reach out to him in case you'd like to continue the conversation. So thank you all again. I know you're joining us from around the world, so have a good morning, night, afternoon for all of you out there. And we look forward to seeing you guys soon. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.